Hey man, Shane here. Eugene has the most typical stance in the fitness industry.
You might find this a little bit hard to believe, but I'm not anti-steroid use. I think there are plenty of people out there who can justify the use of steroids and who might be doing it for what you could call the right reasons. So let's talk about this. This
is the same thing you'll hear from guys like Jeff NIppard and Mike Israetel.
You can do whatever you want with your own body, and I've got no problem with people who enhance.
We have plenty of YouTube videos on the benefits and what you can expect from steroids and shit like that.
I have no problem with any enhanced lifter.
The idea is that we should be free to do whatever we want with our own bodies, as long as we're doing it from a place of personal passion, instead of letting ourselves get pressured into it by other people. I think that's almost completely backwards, but I could be wrong about all of this, so maybe we can talk about it and then you can let me know what you think. Let's dive into it.
Let's start by comparing Alex Eubank, who up until very recently was a lifetime natural, with Sam Sulek. Both these guys are 23, 24 years old. They've been training for a while and they're both on steroids. Now, Alex says he's going on testosterone replacement therapy for the health benefits, which is an absolutely valid reason to go on testosterone. But when I watched Alex's video all about why he's going on testosterone, there are so many issues with the real reasons why he's decided to take testosterone.
I'm going to transform my physique, and all the people talking shit, saying your physique hasn't changed, bulk, whatever, I'm going to take a quarter of the amount of gear that your favorite influencers probably taken and have a physique they could dream to have. I'm going to take it in a healthy way, and I'm going to take way less the majority of people abusing it and look better than them. And I say that in a humble way.
How much of this really can it be about your health and your own personal, authentic journey when you're closing out the video saying, I'm gonna show all of you guys just how jacked I can get and shut up all the doubters, all the haters, and just look incredible. You're not being authentic to yourself, you're not being authentic to the people who are following you, and that is a significant reason as to why you've decided to use steroids. Now, I totally understand and can relate to the pressures of being somebody on social media where you feel this urge to look or perform a certain way, to always be in shape. But testosterone and steroids shouldn't be the crutch that you rely on to be able to do these things when at the same time you're going out partying, you've got no structure to your diet whatsoever, your training is all over the place. There are so many other levers that you could be pulling on with respect to your training, your nutrition, your lifestyle, to be optimizing those things to probably get away with being a lot leaner for a lot longer and feeling a lot better without having to just resort to the easy out, and I'm gonna call it the easy out, of just taking testosterone.
I have a small quibble before we get to the real issue here. The problem isn't that steroids are too easy. For example, taking creatine is 1,000 times easier than taking steroids, but creatine is healthy, so there's no problem. Blending up a smoothie is easier than cooking a full meal, but smoothies are nutritious, so that's a good thing. The problem with steroids isn't that they're too easy. The problem is that they're bad for you. In fact, they're so bad for you that bodybuilders who exercise every day, eat totally clean diets, and live perfectly healthy lifestyles are in worse health than overweight couch potatoes who eat junk food all day.
Let's move on and let's talk now about Sam Sulek, on the other hand, who, similar kind of age, I think he's 23 years old, and he's also using steroids, but he's somebody who, I would consider to be a better candidate for steroid use. He's just doing what needs to be done as part of his process on his journey to reach his real goal, which is to be a pro bodybuilder. And the reality is, if you want to be a pro bodybuilder like he does on the Mr. Olympia stage in the IFBB, you're going to have to be using steroids.
Now we're getting to the part where I disagree more strongly. A few decades ago, back in the silver era, bodybuilding was about becoming bigger, stronger, healthier, and more athletic. Then there was the golden era, heralded by guys like Sergio Oliva and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and these guys started secretly taking new experimental drugs. This is the time of Conan the Barbarian, the Terminator, Rambo, and He-Man. But people didn't know very much about steroids yet. I'm not sure if these bodybuilders understood the downsides, and most regular people didn't even know steroids existed. These guys looked unusually big and strong and masculine, and that was it. There was no scandal. Nobody knew that Arnold Schwarzenegger was taking testosterone, and Sylvester Stallone hadn't been caught smuggling growth hormone yet. It wasn't until the 1990s that the dangers became apparent and steroids became illegal. After that, there was a stigma attached to steroid use. When I was growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, superheroes had a more athletic look, like Spider-Man and Batman. It was the villains who were on steroids. The big action heroes were guys like Keanu Reeves, Will Smith, Bruce Willis, Jackie Chan, Antonio Banderas, and Brad Pitt. None of these guys look like they use steroids. They all have physiques that the average guy can realistically achieve by living a healthy lifestyle. But while this was going on in pop culture, bodybuilders kept on getting more and more extreme, diving deeper into drug abuse. In 1996, the most famous Silver Era bodybuilder, Steve Reeves, wrote to Arnold Schwarzenegger, telling him that bodybuilding used to create men of substance, whereas now it creates men of substance abuse. And it's getting worse. The drugs are bleeding out of bodybuilding and becoming more popular among mainstream fitness icons. And this time, the drug abuse is out in the open. It's becoming normalized. Teenagers are looking up to guys like Sam Sulek, Mike Israetel, and Noel Deyzel in the same way they used to idolize Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. These are the modern-day movie stars, but they're more relatable and down-to-earth, and people spend far more time consuming their content, and their information is packaged to make it feel like it's about self-betterment. And the drug abuse is far more extreme, far more open, and far more accessible than it's ever been before. And the result is that teenagers are starting to seek out steroids in record numbers.
I'm actually not anti-steroids. And it's not necessarily about the age. I mean, you can definitely make the case that the human brain doesn't reach full maturation until around 25 to 30 years old. You should probably wait until around that point if you were to start using steroids. But in my eyes, it's not necessarily about that. You know, you can live your life and do whatever you want at whatever age you want, but it's more about why do you want to do this? It's not going to be taking steroids because you want to get girls or you want external approval or validation or anything like that. And it's going to be more about asking yourself, what are your true intrinsic motivations? What kind of person do you want to be? Because that's the kind of force that I can really tell is coming out of Sam Sulek. He lives, breathes, and loves bodybuilding. He wants to be a bodybuilder and he lives his entire life around becoming that. It's not for anybody else's approval.
This doesn't make any sense to me. Sam Sulek spends hours every day videotaping his workouts and his physique, and then he uploads those videos so that millions of teenagers can watch them. I don't know what Sam is thinking on the inside, but he isn't doing this in some private, personal way that's free from external validation. He's one of the most popular fitness influencers in the world. I also think this idea of doing it for yourself is backwards. It's a natural human tendency to care about the impact you're having on other people and to care about what they think and how they see you. Most guys care about girls and they want to go on dates and get married and start a family, and they want to be a valuable part of society and they want to get the respect that comes from that. That isn't a sign that they have warped priorities. These are totally normal, healthy things for a person to want. It's the steroids that aren't normal, and it's scary that these influencers are making them feel normal. But let's go back to Eugene's main claim. He's arguing that steroids are neutral, and I haven't fully figured this idea out yet, so I'm curious to hear what you think. But I think that for something to be morally neutral, then it needs to either have a neutral or non-existent effect on other people. So that raises the question, how does a personal decision, like an influencer deciding to take steroids, affect the lives of other people? There's some interesting research we can look at. The first bit of research is a famous study by Christakis and colleagues showing that when one person becomes obese, their friends are 57% more likely to also become obese, and then the friends of those friends are more likely to become obese too, suggesting that social norms are contagious within social networks. The same thing is true with positive behaviors. A follow-up study found that when one person quit smoking, it significantly increased the likelihood of their friends, family, and coworkers quitting smoking as well. And we see the same thing with steroids. The more people you see using steroids, the more acceptable they seem and the more likely you are to use them.
More people are taking steroids now than ever before. Why is that? Well, I think it's because more and more fitness influencers are opening up about their anabolic use.
But the thing is, a lot of the kids who are watching this are like younger teenagers, so they're age 14 to 18, whatever. So
the only thing I'm concerned with, I would say, I guess the only somewhat of a drawback is that, and it's not even like Sam's fault, he's literally just doing what he loves and documents it, is that like a lot of the kids who follow him, which I know a lot of kids who follow me, they can be like kind of manipulated pretty easy to where I'm more worried about these younger guys hopping on steroids because they look up to someone like Sam, who again, he doesn't promote steroid usage at all, so I respect him for that. But it's like these kids will see him being young, really successful, and also looking extremely swole, obviously on gear, and then they might be more tempted to like hop on gear themselves to be like the role model that they look up to.
Here's where it gets tricky. You can say that if a teenager decides to follow the guidance of a fitness influencer, then it's the kid's fault, not the influencer's fault. And that's partway true. It is the kid's fault. He's the one who made the decision. But the fitness influencer also made the decision to influence the kid. And I think it's important to point out that these influencers are making a conscious decision. They became influencers on purpose. Nobody forced Sam Sulek or Alex Eubank or Mike Israetel to become role models to millions of young men. They chose this job and they're getting all of the fame and fortune that comes along with it, but at a tremendous cost to some of the people in their audience.
Probably about 5 to 20 DMs a day saying, thank you so much, Togi, you inspired me to take steroids.
If we look at just Togi, and if we only consider the small fraction of guys who are messaging him directly, then he's inspiring around 5,000 guys per year to take steroids, most of them teenagers. It's hard to tease out cause and effect, but a 2024 paper found an excess death rate of 1.7% among young steroid users. That means that Togi's influence might cause around 100 of these teenagers to die in their 20s. And that's just from one influencer in 1 year. And then there are all the other negative effects of steroids, like how they can lower your IQ, cause hair loss, prevent you from growing as tall, and shut down your natural hormone production, causing lifelong drug dependence and infertility. That's why I think taking steroids is bad, because it has a negative effect on you and also on other people, especially when you're an influencer, and especially when some of your audience is made up of teenagers. The weird thing is, despite what Eugene is saying, is I feel like he might agree with me.
10 years ago, I wanted to be a bodybuilder, and all of my do's each day revolved around that, and I had that physique as a result. Today, I care a lot more about being a good father, a good partner, coach, content creator, and role model within my community.
I think he looks way cooler now with a more natural physique, but he was someone who was drawn to steroids, so you have to imagine that he wanted that sort of look, and that it must have been really hard to step away from that. But he did step away from it. He stepped away from it completely. He went totally clean. He's not even on TRT. That's exactly the sort of example that makes the fitness industry better. It inspires people to stay natural, and it also shows people who have started taking steroids that they can go back and get healthy and be incredibly successful as a natural fitness influencer. I hope this goes without saying, but I don't harbor any ill will towards Sam Sulek or Alex Eubank or any of these guys. I disagree with some of their decisions, and that's as far as it goes. Also, this is just my opinion, and I might be wrong about all of it. That's why I'm so curious to hear what you think. I find it a little bit suspect that my stance is so different from so many of the other people I respect in the fitness industry. So maybe you can help me find the flaw in my argument or reassure me that I'm not crazy. Alright, that's it for now. If you liked the video, thank you. I hope you decide to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.